So Idaho has passed a number of laws that I'm pumped about and that I think you should know about as well, especially if you are thinking of moving to the Treasure Valley. Because if you are, you're interested not only in what housing is like here, but you're interested in life in general here. So the first law that I'm pumped about is called the Parental Choice Tax Credit Program. So on February 27th, our Governor Brad Little signed this bill into law. And what it does is it gives parents more choice when it comes to their child's education. So if you have a child who is enrolled in this program, you get a $5,000 tax credit if you have what are called qualified education expenses. So in other words, if you have a child enrolled in the program and the child goes to a private school, a charter school, or is even homeschooled, and you pay out $5,000 for tuition, for textbooks, curricula, anything related to your child's education, even ride sharing, you get a $5,000 tax credit. So if your income tax liability for the state was $5,000 last year, you got a child enrolled in the program and you've paid out $5,000 for a child's education, your income tax now goes down to zero. Now what I like about this law is that it finally gives parents more choices when it comes to their child's education. Up until now, you couldn't use state funding for private education, religious education, or even homeschooling. Now you can, and it comes in the form of a tax credit. So it's for kids that are enrolled in kindergarten through 12th grade. It's gonna be rolled out next year, so 2026. So in order to participate in the program, you gotta enroll in it. So the enrollment is gonna start January 15th through March 15th. And what they're doing is they're prioritizing families that make 300% or less of the federal poverty level. So for example, if you are a family of four, husband, wife, 2 children, and you make 300% of the federal poverty level or less, you'll be prioritized. So for a family of 4, that means if you make $97,000 or less, you'll be prioritized to be part of the program. If you have a family of 6, for example, 4 kids, that means you're making $129,000 or less. Now, it doesn't mean that if you make more than that, you won't get into the program. It's just that the state of Idaho has capped the program at $50 million. So if too many people sign up and they go over that $50 million, the families that make over the 300% of the federal poverty level aren't going to be given first choice to be included in the program. Now, as you might suspect, the Idaho State Teachers Union was not thrilled about this law. They sent out literally thousands of emails trying to discourage the lawmakers from passing the bill, trying to say why it's such a bad thing. Listen to what the Idaho State Teachers Union president had to say about this. Voucher proponents, eager to help out state billionaires' plunder of Idaho's public school budget, are already planning how to exploit and expand this program during the 2026 legislative session. Each year, they will try to siphon more and more tax dollars away from public schools as a gift to private and religious schools and their patrons. Come on. Here's my response to that. The proof is in the pudding. They're against this law because they're afraid that parents will pull their children out of public schools and put them into private schools. Well, why would parents do that? They would only do that if public schools aren't doing their job. So if the public schools aren't doing their job, they should be doing their job. So what that's gonna do is it's gonna introduce more competition into the marketplace, and hopefully it'll make them do a better job at educating our children. I mean, does it actually make sense that we just continue to give more and more money to schools that aren't educating our children? No. Let's put a little bit of competition into the mix and make the schools give better education to our children so that parents won't be as likely to pull their kids out of public schools. Because if a public school is doing their job, I don't think parents are gonna pull their kids out of a good school and put them into a bad school. So I'm pumped about the law. It finally gives parents more choice when it comes to their child's education. From what I could find, we are the 3rd state that has passed a law like this. It looks like in 2023, Tennessee and Wyoming also passed a similar law. So I'm happy to see that Idaho has now joined those other 2 states in giving parents more choice when it comes to their child's education. So the second law that makes me proud to be an Idahoan is the Idaho Income Tax Reduction Law. So what this law does is it reduces all of our income tax. Yay, we all want lower taxes. Before I get into the details of that, just let me mention I've written a couple of guides for people that are interested in moving to the area. One of them is on buying a home in Boise. This basically covers everything from A to Z in the buying process. Everything that you need to know about buying a home here. Second one is on visiting Boise. If you're interested in coming to the Treasure Valley to just kind of see what the Treasure Valley has to offer, here's what I think you should see if you're coming for a few days. So those are available, free downloads. You just look in the description box below, click on the link, and you'll be able to download those guides. So back to the income tax law. On March 6th, our governor signed a bill which reduces everybody's income tax. It actually delivers the largest income tax cut in state history. So according to the governor, it actually gives $253 million back to the Idaho taxpayers. So what it does is it reduces the top tier of your income tax from 5.69% down to 5.3%. So to put some numbers on that, let's say you make $100,000 a year and you have no deduction. So you're just paying the full amount on $100,000. According to the old tax percentage, you would pay $5,695 in state taxes. According to the new tax rate, that drops down to $5,300. So it's not a huge amount, but it's a tax savings of about $400 on $100,000. So yeah, at the end of the day, I wouldn't mind having an extra $400 in my pocket at the end of the year. Here's what I like though. The House Speaker, Mike Moyle, said this. He said, it's the people of Idaho's money, not ours in the government. And I like that he recognizes that state tax money is not the elected officials' money. It belongs to the taxpayers. And the Speaker of the House said that they're just getting started. So hopefully that means that there's even more tax cuts coming. So far, the governor has given back $4.6 billion to Idaho taxpayers since he's become governor, I think 5 or 6 years ago. And I can say that personally, I've actually felt some of that money as well, particularly in my property taxes. We've seen property taxes go down pretty drastically over the past couple years here. So thinking of taxes, I thought it'd be interesting to compare Idaho with the rest of the 50 states to see where we rank overall. So according to the 2025 State Competitive Tax Index, Idaho ranks number 11 overall in its tax competitiveness. Wyoming was number 1. They have the lowest corporate tax rate. They have the lowest individual income tax rate. The 50th least competitive was New York. So they have the highest individual income tax rate. They have a top tier of 10.9%, which is double of what it is here in Idaho, more than double. And I noticed this, and I had to double check this. So if you know of something that I don't know, let me know in the comments below. But if you live in New York City, I found, you actually pay an additional 3.867% to the local authorities. So you're paying almost 15% in income tax if you live in the state of New York. They also have the 3rd highest property tax rate. So we also have a lot of Californians that come here, so I thought it'd be interesting to compare Idaho taxes with California taxes, just so you can kind of get a feel for how we compare to our state over there to the west. Overall, Idaho is ranked number 11. California is ranked number 48. So they're better than 2 other states. But the corporate tax rate in Idaho, we're ranked 21. Idaho is ranked number 41. As far as individual income taxes, we're ranked number 11 compared to the rest of the 50 states. California is number 49. Now we're number 11, but I think that number actually is gonna be better than that because we just passed a new tax law. So I'm gonna guess we're probably gonna be like in the top 5 with this new tax law that we've passed. Sales tax, we're ranked number 9 with the 6% sales tax here in Idaho. California is ranked number 46 with a 7.25% sales tax rate. Our property taxes, we are ranked 3rd among the 50 states. California is ranked 23. And our unemployment insurance taxes. So this is if you are an employer, you pay an unemployment tax for your employees in case they have to go on unemployment. So basically it's the employers that pay unemployment. We are ranked number 35 out of the 50 states. California is ranked 25. So they've actually got us beat there when it comes to unemployment insurance taxes. So how can we improve? There's always room for improvement. I think we can improve in two ways when it comes to taxes here in Idaho. First of all, the corporate tax rate. Now, taxes are tricky. It's super easy to get into the weeds, so I don't want to do that. But just a quick search put the Idaho corporate tax rate at 6%. California was at 8.84%. 6% in my mind is still too high. The state with the lowest corporate tax rate is North Carolina. They have 2.5%, even though there's actually 5 states that have no corporate tax. So really, Texas is ranked first because they have no corporate tax. I think we can reduce that, and I think we should. The second way we could improve would be in the unemployment insurance taxes. We're ranked 35, which is not all that good. Really what all these numbers mean to me is Idaho can improve when it comes to being friendly to businesses. If we want to attract more businesses in Idaho and thereby make Idaho's economy grow and more appealing, we need to reduce the corporate tax and the unemployment insurance taxes so that we can attract more businesses to the state and thereby, grow the economy at a faster rate. The third law that I'm pumped about that was just passed is House Bill 32, which prohibits mask mandates in the state. So now listen to what the law says. It says, neither the state nor a political subdivision may mandate that an individual in the state must use a medical face mask or any other mask in general. But if the state does recommend the use of a mask, such a recommendation must be accompanied by a notice that the recommendation is not mandatory. Now, they did make it clear that the law can't be interpreted to mean that you can't require a mask in a certain vocational setting where that's appropriate. So for example, a heart surgeon can't say, oh no mask mandates, I'm not using a mask when I'm operating on a patient. No, we still want the surgeon to put on a mask. We don't want him spitting into a guy's chest if he's, performing open heart surgery. What the law means, though, is that the government cannot impose a mask mandate on Idaho residents who just are going about their business. Now, our governor has done a lot of good things, and I've said some positive things about him, certainly on this channel, but he's also not above criticism. So I want to be honest with my assessment of the governor. There has been a couple things that he's done that I haven't been super pleased with. And one of them is, why didn't he pass this law 4 or 5 years ago when this was actually relevant? If the argument is, well, he didn't pass it back then because he didn't have the votes in the state legislature, then at the very least, he could have just signed an executive order that effectively would have put this policy into place. Now, of course, an executive order can always be rescinded when the new governor comes in, but at the very least, he was the governor at the time, and so this could have been on the books back when this was relevant. Now, to be fair, the governor definitely did effectively put this policy into place. He talked about it 5 years ago when COVID was a thing, and he said he wasn't going to impose a mask mandate on Idaho, and he never did. I just think that if he would have done it back then, that would have made a stronger statement. Back when Fauci was crisscrossing the country and telling everybody that masks definitively stop the spread of COVID when they in fact didn't seem to do that. I think if he would have passed this law back then, or at least written an executive order that would have put this policy into place, that would have been a stronger statement than passing it now when, it's not the most relevant law at this point. I don't want to be nitpicky though, better late than never. And what I'm happy about this is that now this law is finally in the books. And so if we ever do encounter another pandemic situation, we at least now know what the law of the land is going to be, no matter who the governor will be at that time. So that's the latest here in Idaho. As always, if you have any questions about real estate in the Treasure Valley or life in general in Idaho, please send me a text or email or give me a call. I'd love to help.